international organization for the transition for professional dancers, the IOTPD. It was founded in 1993. And it was the result of the efforts of Philippe Braunschweig. The name may ring a bell. He was the founder of the Prix de Lausanne, which was a young talent award.
Yes.
Together with his wife, he created that. And then years later, he realized, okay, and I've been focusing at the start of a dancer's career, but what's happening to dancers at the end of their career? He then found out that there were 4 countries that have the disposal of a transition program at the time. And also Canada, the United States, England, the UK, which is actually the oldest program that exists, and then the Netherlands. He brought us together and we discussed what we could do on an international level. Philippe was very much a professional. He used to be a businessman, and he was very much keen on setting this issue of dancer transition on the map and then more internationally. So we decided to create a conference to focus on the awareness needed to make people aware of the career transition needs of dancers. Not just the dancers themselves, but also the dance community and people outside the dance community. This first conference was organized in 1995, and it took place in Lausanne in Switzerland. That's also the place where Philippe lived. Then in 1999, I think it was, we figured out how important it was and how much the conference has struck a chord, also internationally in the dance field, that we decided to have a sort of follow-up. We organized an international conference again, this time in The Hague in the Netherlands. We had a huge turnout of people. I think around 300 people participated in this project. And we were looking at particularly the education of dancers, since there was not so much attention paid to this whole issue that a dancer's career is short, and that there's another professional life after that. We continued to work on the whole awareness situation, and we were looking at ways how to reinforce the dancer that is changing from country to country. As we all know, there's no profession, I think, which is so internationally spread out as a dancing profession. If we take a look at the dance community in the Netherlands, I think 70, or we even looked at that in 2007, but 70% of the people working in the Netherlands is not from Holland. So they have an international background. We have dancers from Korea, from Japan, from the United States, and even from South Africa. So they're coming from all different backgrounds. And what we see is that dancers move from one country to another. And then in theory, it's possible that they have been dancing in 6, 7 countries, and all these 7 countries may have a kind of transition support. But in the end, they may not be able to benefit from this support because they do not meet the eligibility criteria for each different programs. So what we're trying to look at as well is to sort of harmonize those different regulations and to see how we can reinforce the position of the dancer who has been working in different countries. We're not there yet. This is taking obviously a long time. We've been noticing also in other countries, even when you want to set up a program, it takes quite some convincing to do and is therefore relatively time consuming. And we've also noticed that without external financial support, it's hard to create a program to make sure it's hard to create a program without financial support from other people in case you want to have a program that is sustainable and is also for the future. The way the IOTPD is functioning these days is we focus on the exchange of experience and the different issues that we come across in each country. Over the years, we've learned that things happening worldwide, they do all seem to happen at the same sort of pace. So we are looking at the same topics like the health of dancers, or we're looking at topics of the education of dancers, or we are looking at how the work field of dancers is organized, the difference between freelance self-employed dancers and those who are hired by the companies, those kind of numbers. We're trying to identify what the needs are from dancers who travel from country to country and how we could support them in that sense. Again, we are certainly not there yet, but we're working towards sort of an overall umbrella organization. The benefits are a bit on different levels. One of the things which I think is incredibly important is that through the context that we have within the IOTPD, we become stronger ourselves due to the exchange of the experts' opinions and the expert experiences. We can raise the quality of our own work. Apart from that, I think what is important is to show as an organization, and that is beneficial to the national countries, the visibility is incredibly important. You show you have an interest and you have a care for dancers who work internationally. And like I mentioned before, dancing is the most international profession that I know. And therefore, it is important to offer some sort of coverage to dancers who work internationally. A benefit is to be able, in case of a situation where a dancer, for instance, has been working in the United States or in the UK, I can contact my colleague and discuss someone's individual situation. That's on a very practical level. Most important, I think, is if you're part of an international umbrella, you show that you care, you show that the issue itself is important, that it's wider than just your own national interest. And you can show that to the potential funding bodies that you are also perhaps have to approach. If I think about dancers, and if I talk to dancers directly, I would say you have to realize that the career that you're, as a performing artist, you're doing a wonderful career. You're giving a great contribution to society. You have a very special and intense profession. And you probably know that it's not going to last forever. However, it doesn't mean it's the only profession in the world. And if you want to think about the future, that's not harmful at all, I would say. It's making a career transition. That's the experience. That's the feedback I get from the dancers who have been going through our program, is that they realize that they've had a very successful and satisfactory dancing career. And then realizing that you can be successful and build up a great career in another area as well, that's a good thing to realize. I do understand that people feel, well, if I do not pay the required attention to the career that I'm having right now, that I'm not completely 100% focused, that may not be the right working attitude, but I question whether that's actually true. I think it is very professional if you have the understanding that you have to work hard to be a high-level dancer. And at the same time, you're taking yourself very seriously if you look at your profession and put it in perspective and also think of your own future. Quite a number of times I hear dancers say that they are also a bit reluctant or afraid of making the career transition. And I always say, well, if you have been able to dance on a very high level as a dancer, you have shown so much quality and so many skills that you should be confident that you really can make the transition as well. There's no reason to worry about that. I think that the dance companies, they do have a strong responsibility for taking care of their dancers. Without dancers, there's no dance. And the dance companies is a structure to, is a platform for dancers to work. A dance company without dancers cannot exist. So from that respect, I think dance companies do have a responsibility for the dancers when they've reached the end of their career. As I mentioned earlier, you cannot separate the whole issue of career transition from the career itself. Therefore, I think it's important for dance companies to help dancers to think about and to be aware of the fact that their career as a dancer is limited in time. And that they should support all kinds of initiatives that help dancers to prepare themselves on a difficult moment of their career. That's a responsibility I would sort of emphasize for dance companies to realize. Dance companies have also responsibility in what I would call normalizing the whole career transition issue. It is not something that has to be necessarily very scary or complicated or impossible to solve. While you're dancing, you can still be aware of the fact there is more options than just dancing. You should, that's a word for dance, but also for dance companies, you should be focusing on what skills, what opportunities can you offer to dancers to develop other skills than just the skills they need for their profession. For a company like yourselves trying to set up a transition support, I would also focus on normalizing and creating awareness of the fact that a dancing career is short and that it differs from other careers potentially. And that for that reason, it's important to create support, even though it's modest. But it is important to let dancers know that they're not just, or that they don't only have to rely on themselves if they are facing this unavoidable moment of career transition.